right way is, as others have, but it doesn't make a difference because people like Kirk aren't here to be convinced. They're here to normalize their hateful rhetoric. Liberals and moderates watching, understand, if the ultimate goal is to reduce the damage that certain ideas cause, the best strategy is not to help them spread. Even if you think you're winning the optics in the moment, taking certain ideas out of the marketplace of ideas ends their ability to replicate. Yes, the dreaded deplatforming is our best weapon. There are drawbacks to it, yes, but understand that there's tons of research at this point that shows that no one really changes their mind from public debates. People don't change their mind just because they've been presented with better information on a topic. People will legit lie if they think it serves a greater communal good. So even if you have your cool Aaron Sorkin moment where you own the chuds, you're still not doing anything useful. It's team sports and entertainment, and our team will never win the actual major game going on with the strategy that we're going to convince them in the marketplace of ideas. And the right knows this. It's why they won't stop saying so much wild shit all the time. It's why they do not care if what they're saying is true or false, if it makes sense, if it doesn't, if it's an outright lie, or exactly the opposite that someone else said. And I hate our modern news media for not just saying this to them. Whenever someone on the right just lies in their face, they say, "Is that true?" And then puts the microphone right back to them like they didn't just lie a fucking second ago. Like a perfect example is listening to Trump talk about the Epstein files on the campaign trail.
There's a moment where you had some hesitation about Epstein, releasing some of the documents on Epstein. Why the hesitation?
I don't think I'm not involved. I never went to his island.
And listening to him talk about the shit now.
Mr. President, what did Jeffrey Epstein mean in his emails when he said you knew about the girls?
I know nothing about that. They would have announced that a long time ago.
Sir,
Yeah,
if
Jennifer,
there's
go
nothing
ahead, go ahead.
incriminating in the file, sir, why not acting as if...
Charlie Kirk himself spoke on the Epstein files all the time, but clearly was told behind the scenes to stop.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend.
And it was such a blatant reversal of his own opinions that surely some people should have woken up, but they did. Still no consequences, no change in behavior, no damage to their movement. We are living in a post-truth era. So why are we worried about having good faith debates with people who are obvious liars? One scary thing is the country has moved so far right in its general disposition, and the right-wing movement has been so effective in their rhetoric that they've managed to label Kirk as a moderate.
If you have unapologetic, ferocious anti-white racism, then young whites are going to find some very radical political positions. If you want young ladies to become more conservative, we should encourage and celebrate marriage. Get a mortgage, get married, and mate. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. And by the way, genetics matter. We should talk about genetics more. It's not racist to say that. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
He's saying these racist things and openly speaking on women not needing to be educated and just wanting to become mothers, defending gun violence in the name of liberty, etc. And it makes him a moderate because every once in a while when an overt white supremacist comes to the stage, he shouts them down. But what you need to understand is that Republicans and their followers know it's all the same thing. You just can't say the quiet part out loud. Lee Atwater, the campaign manager for Ronald Reagan, said as much back in 1981 as they developed their culture war playbook.
You start out in 1954 by saying by 1968 you can't say that hurts your backfire.
But the truth is, Kirk was just skilled at hiding the racism inherent in his movement. Many members of Turning Point USA were exposed for having their own racist text chats. It's just something white people do when they're not around us, or even when they are around us, to be honest. Kirk was a modern update on all the overtly racist pundit this country has seen. However, I want to talk about the one that I think most right-wing figures are mimicking today, George Lincoln Rockwell. Now, some of you may find it offensive to compare George Rockwell, an overt neo-Nazi, to Charlie Kirk, allegedly a moderate, an overt neo-Nazi. However, you'll find him and Rockwell believe pretty much the same thing. Rockwell attacked MLK and the Civil Rights Bill. Charlie Kirk took the same exact position 60 years later. Both alleged that he was a communist, which we'll give him that one. MLK secretly based, made a whole video about it. It's fine. Rockwell believed in the Great Replacement theory. Charlie Kirk believes in the Great Replacement theory. Rockwell was anti-feminist and anti-gay, saying that he would allow gay men in his movement if they changed but didn't believe in gay marriage.
I will say this. In my organization, I have men who were homosexuals. They were sucked into that filth, just like drunkards or dope fiends. And I have been able to rescue them. And I'm not a bit ashamed of that. I'll stand shoulder to shoulder with anyone on any day. The only thing I will not tolerate is a homosexual who is a homosexual.
Charlie Kirk says basically the same thing, always arguing about women being submissive, saying he's okay with gay people existing, but marriage is between a man and a woman.
Why can't marriage be allowed with 2 men or 2 women?
Allowed and what it is are two different things. Just strictly from what marriage has always been is the idea of 2 separate parts coming in a union to be able to have, hopefully, a lifelong partnership to raise kids, adopt kids, or have kids. It is the attraction of opposites. If you want to redefine marriage, that's fine, that's your contention, but I take a classical view of marriage.
Both were anti-immigration, both were college dropouts, both showed potential as provocateurs, which got the attention of rich benefactors. Harold Noel Aerosmith Jr. bankrolled Rockwell. Bill Montgomery saw similar potential in Kirk and helped him found Turning Point USA. Both were overtly anti-communist and anti-progressive. Both toured college campuses debating students and creating spectacle to bring attention to his cause. Both couched their politics in a false image of Christian faith based solely on whiteness. Both were even from the state of Illinois, with Rockwell being from Bloomington and Kirk being from Arlington Heights, the future home of the Bears, which, that's so bad. And there's one more similarity I'm going to save for later. However, for a lot of you, this might be your first time ever hearing of George Rockwell. Hell, I didn't know much about him until earlier this year, and shout out to Westside Tyler for making a similar comparison between him and Charlie Kirk in a video just a few months back. But despite the fact that Rockwell was a well-known figure in the 60s during the Civil Rights Movement, often trailing Martin Luther King on his speaking engagements and marches, he's been erased from our history, and the reason is obvious. Rockwell made one mistake. He said the quiet part out loud a lot.
Commander George Lincoln Rockwell, you are head of the American Nazi Party?
Yes, sir.
How can you possibly justify leading an organization whose objectives are the liquidation of the Jews, the removal of the Negroes to Africa, and the turning of the United States into a fascist state?
Well, I don't know where you got those supposed objectives, but they're ridiculous. We have no such objectives. As you have said, we are not out to liquidate the Jews. We are out to liquidate communist traitors. Unfortunately, too many Jewish atheists, not religious Jews, but too many religious atheist Jews are mixed up in communism.
He was too honest about what the American right really was and what they wanted. He was too extreme, not in his rhetoric, much of which was popular then and is openly parroted by the American right now. No, his problem is that he openly called himself a Nazi. He did it at a time where Americans had spent years branding themselves as anti-Nazi, even though the Nazis modeled their genocide off of Jim Crow laws in America. They were still the bad guys to us then and still today. But his political platform was damn near identical to Trumpism.
Rockwell soon discovered that the well-educated and spirited Judith was nothing like the mental image of a wife, based on the demure and submissive Claire. He quickly eroded whatever relationship he had with the Altmans by blaming them for not training Judith for the proper, meaning docile and compliant role of a wife and mother, which was, in his view, the only appropriate station for a woman.
Submit to your husband, Taylor.
But unlike Kirk and so many figures on the right, he didn't play coy with plausible deniability. He didn't wink and nod with other white supremacists in the crowd. He didn't say stand back and stand by. He said literally white power. That's a book he wrote. He named one of his magazines the Stormtrooper, and one of his followers went on to write the Turner Diaries, the Bible of white supremacist fan fiction. So he is not mentioned in today's modern society and has been erased from history. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's interesting to consider that he himself has been erased, but not his rhetoric, especially since conservatives today have come to identify themselves with Nazis so much that making Nazis bad guys in movies and TV shows and video games is offensive to them. We just had a guy call himself a fascist on Jubilee to laughter and applause. But let's go back to that last similarity between Kirk and Rockwell I didn't speak on yet. It's in how they both died. The story right now is that Kirk was shot by a young white man named Tyler Robinson, sniped from a rooftop. Tyler Robinson has been branded as a leftist by a lot of conservative media due to some incredibly specious and circumstantial pieces of evidence that I'll talk more about later. I will add now that everything from his past life to his parents to his username on Steam and his hobbies indicates that he was your typical right-leaning young man from Utah. Meanwhile, Rockwell was also sniped from a roof by John Patler, a former member of his American Nazi Party who had a tumultuous tenure with the party due to not fitting into the Aryan aesthetic, for which he was eventually ousted by Rockwell for his Bolshevik tendencies. But what he really meant to say was that Patler was a closeted gay man. And I'm sorry if I can't not engage with the profound irony of these similarities and what they tell us about the hidden costs of movements like Rockwell's and Kirk's. The fact that Rockwell named his magazine Stormtroopers, explicitly insinuating the untimely death of his followers for the white cause, and the fact that it's that same belief in the expendability of his followers that led to his own death. And a similar thing can be said about Kirk, whose last words were literally him attempting to deflect the reality of spree shooters and similar acts of senseless gun violence that he's defended throughout his career, acts that, believe it or not, are far more likely to kill men who look like him than look like me. Because of this, Kirk ends up being just another victim of his own cult. The world Kirk helped build is the same one that killed him, and now they want to make him a martyr. Not a cautionary tale, not an opportunity to reflect, but a symbol to push their same destructive movement forward. And I can talk all day about how the rhetoric of the right and Kirk and Rockwell and whomever hurts me and those like me and those I care about, but we kind of already know that. Instead, let's talk about y'all. Let's talk about the other casualties of this forever culture war. Let's talk about the young white man dying like Charlie Kirk did. Part 3, look at me. I can't stop talking about the Joker, y'all. I'm sorry. I promise I won't be here long, but it's important. We got to get into the media analysis bag just a little bit for this section. The short of my infatuation with Joker as it pertains to this topic, for those of you who are new, there was once a time